No, but it can be.
And we are live. Well, folks, welcome to the latest edition of the American Praetorians live stream. Mike's not here to try and make it Slack Ops this month, but we have the Emperors, Nick and Jason. Say hello to the people.
Yo, what's up?
Well,
Hey,
apparently we only have the AI versions because neither of their cameras were working.
Yeah,
Okay.
my,
You know what? You
My
don't want
camera-
your ratings to go down that way.
my camera works. I'm here.
There he is.
Yeah. Look at my ugly face. Behold ugliness. Oh,
Well,
man.
at least you haven't gone full VTuber on
Coop's
that.
lighting up. Fuck, what's this?
I can. I don't live in California, so it's still not illegal over here.
Oh man, see,
He's like, I can't be associated with this.
That's it. He's out. He's out. You said something negative about the Golden State.
Oh, I can say a lot more negative about the Golden State than Coop can.
Oh,
I think you've
bet.
written more negative about the Golden State.
I was exiled there for 8 years.
You know, Peter, we're doing we're sponsoring like a precision shooting match down somewhere in southern Montana. I should know this stuff, but I just write the checks. But yeah, we're sponsoring something with Wargate with a guy that he had a company called Warhorse Development, and I think he was a Marine like you. I think he was a Marine sharpshooter. So I'll try to get that linked up. But you're actually close enough that you can go in there and show everybody a thing or two, and maybe win the prize.
It's going to depend on work schedules, particularly if it's this summer.
Well, just develop it's like next week. Just develop a itch in your throat. Just cough a few times. Call the boss.
So, Galaxy's Edge Season 3.
Yeah.
It'd be great if Nick were here to talk about it.
Yeah, it would.
Well, you know, this way I can just say what I want about it, and
Yeah.
and it'll become canon, and he'll have to go with it.
You know what the hardest part about writing it was? Nick.
That's what we always say. He'd probably say that too. No,
Yeah, I
he
was
did
gonna
it.
say he could be here for that one.
Yeah.
That one was that was fun. We went back to what we did with this one is we went back to the writing style we used on some of the very first ones in season 1. And so like Nick had a section which you could probably identify if you read that book, and I had a section, and so
I'm literally sitting backstage and you guys are talking shit about me.
Oh yeah, I know.
Fuck
Well, yeah.
yourselves. Anyway,
It's nothing we wouldn't say to your face, right? Obviously.
Also, there are
I
no
was-
Marines like Peter Nealon, just so you know. There's fucking other Marines. And then
There's other Marines, but they're not. I don't know. Chaz is pretty cool. He's even got a cool nickname. Chaz. Have you ever met someone named Chaz who's not just a total badass?
I always just remind myself that his name's probably Charles and I could kick his ass.
Well, it is. That's actually true. You're right. It is Charles. At any rate, I was telling him, Nick, which apparently you heard, that we went back to the drawing board in a way, and we wrote season 1, or we're writing season 3, similar to how we wrote season 1, with each of us just kind of taking a section and running wild, and then after the car crash, we try to put the pieces back together and make a coherent book out of it.
Yeah, I try to break it as much as possible and ruin it so that we never have to write it again. I try to like write it right off the cliff, and then you put it back together. You reseal the action figures back behind the plastic. But
Right.
I am intent on lighting all of them on fire and watching them melt, like we did our Star Wars figures when we were kids.
So you're the one with the cherry bombs. Is what
I'm the
you're
one
saying.
with the cherry bombs and the bottle rockets. I am chaos.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. His army is buried in Mom's flower garden.
Nothing of my childhood survives. No, we had a pretty good time. It was fun. It was kind of fun to get back into it, and that's the fun of a long running series. Is the work is done for the most part, and now you can kind of play with the connections and enjoy it and stuff like that. And as long as you disabuse yourself of this like Star Wars-esque notion where you've got to build a second Death Star, or a bigger Star Destroyer, a super, and you get into the mechanics of the universe and the fun characters. It's always Galaxy's Edge was always, how Star Wars is the battle for the Jedi soul. Galaxy's Edge was the battle for the Stormtrooper's soul, you know, which kind of came out of a lot of people's feelings about the GWAT and things like that. But it's kind of like, it's fun to stay with the action, but then there's a lot of like, and it's something that Jason and I talked about early on in the creation of the whole thing, was what we liked about the Star Wars universe was the living, breathing feel of the universe, the starports, you know, the bots, droids,
the used future.
yeah, the used future, and we're like, we just want to play with that, you know, and that's like, sometimes I'll tell you when I'm writing, and like at the beginning of The Wanted, there's a scene in there with like two bounty hunters who are part of a bounty hunter team, and it just harkened back to the kind of Wild West feel that we started with. And I was like, man, I like writing this shit. I like the big dune sea. I like some dudes sitting out there under the shade of their starship, you know, polishing their guns and hoping they don't get jumped. And lo and behold, oh shit, it's Legionnaires everywhere firing at everybody.
Yeah,
and
right.
That's kind of half the fun.
That was fun. I actually like that part. Just
Yeah.
using your ship. Yeah.
Yeah. And I liked my favorite part was inventing 500 caliber and pissing everybody off. Yeah, I know. I meant Smith & Wesson 500 Magnum, but that survived 16 edits in which I put in 500 caliber. You know what? 500 caliber in the future is a thing. You can fire it out of your hand cannon. All right? That's what we can do in sci-fi. We can just make stuff up and it's canon, and some Elon Musk 5,000 years from now will make it happen for us, right? Am I right? Am I right?
It'll happen eventually. It's going to happen eventually.
Exactly. Well, it's going to happen in this book and every book, because that's the kind of Black Irish bastard I am.
I do like how you said once you disabuse yourself of the Star Wars notion of just a bigger Death Star or something like that, because especially in the past, I don't know, 10 years as it was, and even before that, when the prequels were coming out, it felt like the Star Wars universe, instead of getting bigger, was getting smaller. It was always going back to the same like 3 planets, you know.
Right.
Tatooine, that's supposed to be this backwater, is apparently the center of the friggin' universe.
Yeah. That's on all their tourism things. It's like, you know, things happen on Tatooine, you know, and it's just all about the historic museum of Tatooine history. It's everywhere.
It's like if everything in global geopolitics, like just kept going back to Mali or some shit like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Well,
Tatooine is the mom's
Equatorial Guinea.
Tatooine is the mom's minivan with like a dad and a wife and like 15 kids on the back, the little stick figure kids.
Yeah,
that is the visual representation. It's like this planet is clearly backwater and worthless, but damn if it's not the most important center in the entire universe. And in the end, like having worked in Hollywood a lot, you know exactly why it is. Because it's cheaper to shoot in the Mojave Desert in Tunisia than to build Coruscant, you know, or whatever it is, and things like that. Yeah. It's kind of funny, like Jason and I, like, you know, as much as we'll still talk, like I just sent him a thing with all the Star Wars action figures in the other night, and he was telling, like, he was like, oh, I remember marking these down and like putting stars by the ones that I really wanted and things like that. And
the old Kenner wish list.
Yeah, exactly. We had Best Buy catalogs, and they would stage, like I remember Empire came out, and like they had the stage snow scene, and you're like, this is bitchin'. I think all I wanted, like, it's kind of speaks to my inner sociopath tyrant, you know, space con, is that I just wanted Hoth troopers. I just wanted like about 100 Hoth troopers. I would have been cool with that, you know. But we were talking about Empire, and like, because like there's some really cool Twitter feeds that, like, because Jason and I think fancy ourselves going into the movie business one day, and they'll talk about like how this movie was made and what a disaster it was, and you realize like when you look at Empire, like what a shit show of production it was, and like how it practically didn't even get made. And you think from your kid's perspective at the time, like, oh wow, how could they not make this? This was so important. But when you actually find out the story of it being made, you're like surprised it got even made at all. And then Jason had mentioned, he goes, oh yeah, he goes, even Star Wars, like the first cut, you know, people, I just even saw Spielberg say, oh yeah, we saw the first cut of Star Wars, it was terrible. And James was like, oh yeah, Luke's his wife recut it, and that's why it's actually good. And it's funny that this thing that was held up as so iconic now just reveals itself to kind of be the hacky disaster that it is. And that's okay. I've passed a lot of roadside carnivals. I get it. When I was 9, that looked pretty cool. And now I just see it as a great place to get ptomaine and molested, and probably break your neck on the tilt-a-whirl. And that's Star Wars.
So it is like Hollywood. Yeah.
It's like
there's no difference.
I got out of the Army and I was working as a PA for MTV, and we were working on the back lot of Universal Studio. And I remember my friend, he goes, "Want to see all the Jaws sharks?" And I go, "Okay." And so we take the golf cart over there and we look at the Jaws sharks, and they're all stacked in crates, and rats are eating the rubber and crawling around them. And that's when I realized about Hollywood. I'm like, this is all bullshit. This is just all bullshit.
Right.
Because to me, like being a movie buff or whatever, a kid of the 70s and the 80s, you're like, these sharks should be at the Smithsonian. We should be studying these like pharaonic monuments. Instead, they're just out here on the back lot in the dirt being eaten by rats.
Right, you're going the full Indiana Jones. This belongs in a museum.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was going to say, to be fair, that's like a lot of pharaonic monuments. So
yeah. I know, but like not if you watch the BBC like movies like with Hercule Poirot. Those are how the pharaonic monuments should look, the lighting and everything like that. But in reality, if you've traveled the third world and seen monuments, it's usually pretty underwhelming.
So this is it.
Next to the Sphinx, we have the gift shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Or this is the Citadel. That's thousands of years old, and it's a shopping mall, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
I was down in Mexico, and there was a Mayan pyramid or Aztec pyramid, and I took the bus out to it, and it's just a pyramid out in the next to the ocean, and no one's there, and it's like grassy, and you'd think like everybody's there, and like I go to the Mexican guy, "Can I like climb on that?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, man. Do whatever you want." Should I? Yeah, we don't care. What the hell? The bus leaves in 20 minutes. See how far you can get up, man.
The bus might leave you, and then maybe you'll be seen again. Who knows?
Yeah.
If you steal anything, we'll know, but we just won't care.
We'll know, but we won't care. And if you give us money, we really won't care.
Yeah, exactly. You'll see how little we care at this point.
Yeah, you'll see how little our history is for sale. But is that any different than Star Wars? And the we don't. A lot of times when we end up on podcasts because the inherent nature of Galaxy's Edge is based on the bitter disappointment of Star Wars, and we have to accept that. But it does turn into a lot of the times a therapy session for all of us. And I think probably everybody in this conversation had this point when you thought Star Wars was the coolest thing in the entire world. And then, Star Wars took you in the back room and repeatedly molested you until you were, horrified. And you're like, I didn't even see the last 2 movies. And if you'd have told like 1983 me that, I'd have called you a damn liar. Yeah. But I just like, no, I'll sit this out.
Not possible, right?
Yeah. I have not seen a single one of the shows that have come out since Disney bought the rights.
Yeah.
Like any of the Mandalorians or there's like 1,000 of them now.
And you want to, but then you remind yourself, oh no, they'll ruin this too.
Yeah. Well, it's a repeated lesson on how to take a good idea and destroy it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember seeing the trailer for The Last Jedi, and by that time the kind of shiny had worn off from The Force Awakens, and I realized, wow, that was really awfully stupid.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I watched the trailer and it's like, well, that's a lot of flashy visuals. It's probably soulless and really dumb. I'm not bothering.
Yeah, that was actually the tagline.
For Jason and I, that's a good thing because like a lot of the big breakout sci-fi series of this age, like Expeditionary Force or Us or a bunch of them and everything like that, like you get well received and you have quote unquote your first season or whatever it is. And we've had a few friends that have nosedived, gotten far, like either run out of ideas or turned in books that just seemed like a cash grab or and if I'm saying that like these are bad people, it's not. It's really hard to write a series by yourself over a long period of time. The gift from God that Jason and I have is we have each other. And so, we can work together, but like doing it by yourself, that's pretty hard. And I think the one, like, as we talk about the Star Wars discussion, the one thing that we always go back to is we don't want to be those people. We want to serve. We want to do it right. So when we were planning season 3, there was definitely because RC Brace screwed us repeatedly again and again and again, like the Disney uncle molesting us in the back room. Great narrator, great guy, and everything like that. But a very cautionary tale about understanding your narrators and that how much impact they have on your series. But he he's out of the series now, so we had to sit down and say, like, we don't want to disappoint our fans. And they were the feedback that and the way that he screwed us on book 2 is that he didn't have the time to write the opus that ended season. He didn't have the time to narrate the opus that was the end of season 2. And so I think that book personally devastated Jason, I think, to a larger extent than I did me, because he was forced to make a lot of cuts of vital information to fit it. Am I talking out of school, Jason, or can I say all this shit?
No. It's the truth. It was kind of it was a disappointing thing, and so I think that's partly why we didn't immediately jump on season 3, because we were sort of like, well, dang, here we are. Well, what do we do now?
Yeah. So we had to sit down and say, like, well, okay, how, like, so people were saying, like, I want to know what happened to these characters, and I want to know this backstory, and they're like that. Like, we said, okay. And these were the criticisms about the end of season 2. So instead of like perceiving those to be criticisms, we turned those into strengths.
I was going to say, it sounds like it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it's a good problem.
If people are being like, yeah, I don't care what happened to them. I don't want to know what happened to them. I'm done with this. That's way worse than like, hey, could you give me another entry in this? Can we
exactly. But that's why you're brilliant and smart, because initially Jason and I perceived it as like, you guys suck. We hate you. Mm-hmm. But in reality, it was a good problem to have. And we felt like caught between a rock and a hard place, because we're like, this is literally not our fault, but what you perceived took us maybe a little bit to get to, which was actually, it's a good thing. They want more. And then we're like, okay, now we know where to go. And instead of like, hey, how about a bigger Death Star super thing, So we kind of turned it into, I mean, to me, what it almost feels like right now is The Usual Suspects meets Galaxy's Edge. As in, it's a story about, like, well, okay, it's kind of interesting because it's going, like it says in the first thing, the Legion goes back and says, like any good after action review and any good military unit that's worth its salt, you should honestly look back and find out how you fucked up, and or what went wrong, or blah blah blah. And so we said, well, let's take that and build that as a series. Like the Legion goes back and says, well, what did we do right and what did we do wrong, and why exactly did we get embroiled in this? Because the mantle of leadership in the galaxy has fallen to us, and we're not so sure we should have it, because we might become the tyrants that we put down. So it's kind of a good way to get into the series.
I like it.
Yeah.
And going back to the Star Wars thing, don't feel bad about saying it's like, okay, like this definitely started because of the disappointment with how Star Wars happened. Some of the best, most classic work ever has come from spite, and like J.R.R. Tolkien put like half of the best scenes in his books because he was pissed off at Shakespeare for Macbeth. You want to know why the Ents go marching off to war? It's because he was pissed. He was like, this is going to be awesome. Oh, it's just people hiding behind sticks? What the? Yeah. And,
right.
So, and like the Eowyn stuff and the prophecy, all that came because he was like livid at Macbeth. So...
No, it's true. A lot of great fiction, everything like comes out of someone saying like, you got this wrong, or we can do it better. Or a writing of, I think also, a large part of Tolkien's work comes out of, World War I sure was a shit show. Maybe we should talk about that. And
what was that about, guys?
Yeah, what was that whole meat grinder about? And so, I mean, like, iconically, Star Wars was probably one of the most revolutionary things to ever happen to cinema. In that, like, you know, if you look at Star Trek in the 60s, and we all love, I mean, I think we all, I mean, I'm speaking for everybody, but Star Trek was pretty groundbreaking, but it failed as a TV show. It was cut off after 3 seasons. And it was kept alive by this weird little convention fandom that, you know, and I take everybody back, and like, you know, a lot of movies now are sci-fi and TV shows to some extent, and it's very normalized. But like as a kid growing up in the 70s and the 80s, like sci-fi was not like you didn't get a lot of sci-fi. You got a lot of Richard Dreyfuss, you know, in The Goodbye Girl, or like, you know, this Francois Truffaut movie, or, you know, like the China Syndrome. You got all these political bullshit thrillers. And then in the 80s, it wasn't as sci-fi as you think, because it was a lot of action shit.
Right.
And it's not really until Star Wars comes along that sci-fi, you know, becomes legitimate. But like no one knew how to do it. None of it, like, you know, like only Lucas had done it. But there really aren't any big science fiction franchises for quite a while. And, you know, Cameron doesn't pick up Aliens and run with it like he should have. So it takes it, you know, there, science fiction, it took a long time for it to get normalized, but Star Wars did that. And now when you really kind of look at everything, it really is much more Star Wars. Like there's dramatic arc, space opera's cool, you know, guys in armor stacking, bitching, lightsabers, all this kind of cool stuff. And it's a really great time to still, like, I think, be a writer in that, because what happened after COVID in Hollywood, and we got some Hollywood, you know, interest and things like that. And every time they came to Galaxy's Edge, they're like, damn, this would cost a lot of money to make. And they're just, you know, it's not, you know, no one wants to blow.
The helmets couldn't have been that expensive.
That was but there was a big thing. How do you do that? Like, how do you shoot inside the helmet? Is everybody doing like a Tony Stark thing? That was like, they even said, like, could we take off the helmets? And we're like, you can go right to hell.
Sure, if you want to get shot in the head.
Yeah, exactly. If you want a lot of disgruntled veterans to come looking for you. But I think the money will come along as but like, I don't know. It's an interesting thing, but the cool thing to be writing it right now is there's definitely a hunger for it. And so I think, like Jason and I were having a conversation, because we were saying we're kind of at this crux right now. Like, we've got another IP that's doing really well. We have a couple more IPs that we're getting ready to start and things like that. But Galaxy's Edge is our big cash cow, bread and butter. And also, more important than that, and I don't mean this in a hyperbole, you know, bullshitter way, but a lot of the people who read Galaxy's Edge are kind of like family to us and friends, and we know them, and it's like we can't just walk away from that. But we had to, you know, we're realists, we're capitalists, and we had to say, season 3 is either that's it, we're wrapping it up, put a nice little bow on it, or it will tell us if what our original intended vision is we wanted Galaxy's Edge to literally be a living, breathing galaxy that outlives us. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be about Legionnaires or Hullbusters or about these characters, but like going back to that Star Wars style universe of the weathered, distressed spaceport, that's really what Galaxy's Edge is to us in our vision. But our vision has to be matched by the interest of people who want to participate in that. And so what we told ourselves is, like, when we launch The Wanted, we will know if people still want to read this stuff, because there were a lot of people after, you know, at different points in the series, many times when, you know, like I jumped in and wrote something they hated, like Imperator or Savage Wars, you know, that they were like, this is stupid, I'm out. So you get that a lot. And like in season 2, we got that a lot, you know, like, we hate this, you know, and it's just the 10% of people that want to get online, but we still have to pay attention to that. And we were just like, you know, we need to find out if that's true, if it's over. But I would say from the sales numbers, or, you know, from my loose looking at things, Jason knows better than I do. It clearly seems that we're doing good and people want to keep the galaxy alive.
Well, it's because you guys do the after action report stuff. So It's like, yeah, you have the 10% that says, I hate this. And I imagine you two eventually get around to, it's like, okay, it's not that they hated it, it's what did they hate about it? What was different about that from the stuff that they like, and how can we sort of meld these two ideas together so that they incorporate the stuff that everybody likes?
And I kid you not, like a lot of the times, 30% of the hate that we get, like, so 3 out of 10, well, maybe 7 out of 10, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, is why isn't RC Bray on this? Or why didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Right.
like, and Jason has a standard response, which is, oh, I didn't realize you guys were dating. But like, it just, if I could, because there is a writerly aspect to this podcast, and you guys are both writers. How's your book coming, Coop?
Yeah.
You knew it was coming up tonight.
Oh yeah,
we gotta get you. We gotta, we'll do it. Anyways, you gotta consider your narrator, because like if you get a hit, your audio sales, a large portion of now, like that narrator comes between you and a portion of the audience, because there are people that follow that narrator and they live and die on that narrator, and they literally will, like, and have said to us, we hope you die in a cancer fire for firing RC Bray. And we're like, we have never fired RC Bray.
Right.
We have only, done everything we could to accommodate him. And it's just like, hey, the man was popular and was booked, and a large portion of that is due to Galaxy's Edge. I'm not speaking I'm not making that up. Like, we put that guy on the map to a certain extent. And like most things, every other writer suddenly wanted our success. So they booked the guy until he broke, and now he's broken, and that's it. Thanks, everybody. Merry Christmas. I don't think so.
Well, you'll figure something out.
Oh, we did. We've got, like we've had other, like the challenge I said to Jason is, I sure hope my success is not based on RC Bray. Our success is not based on RC Bray, because I don't think it is. And the truth of it is RC Bray has narrated some absolute utter train wrecks. So what we would try to tell people is, like, I know you're addicted to the chocolate, the sweet, sweet dark chocolate that is RC Bray's voice, but it's really the writing that makes the story that you're interested in. I get that you like the special effects of a certain movie, but there have been a lot of movies like, Krull, that had a lot of great special effects, but they didn't have like the original great writing of the original Star Wars series. So special effects are cool and everything like that. But they're like, Zack Snyder, his effort at Star Wars kind of bombed. So you can have all the cool special effects and all that kind of stuff in the end, but it's got to be the story, it's got to be the characters. And, we've had other narrators and they've done it. It's funny, we went to Podium and we said, we named a couple of celebrities that we'd like to get our hands on to replace them. And they came back and they said, celebrities don't work. And we're like, oh, really? Because one of our biggest hits was Savage Wars, and it was the general guy from Avatar. So that was really big, and he's a celebrity kind of thing. Anyways.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. But no, our success is not.
I mean, it is sort of that thing, though. It's like where you see a really good movie, and everybody latches on to the actor, like the main actor.
Right.
Instead of like the director that kind of like coached him into giving the performance of his life, that really worked with him.
Because, or or the screenwriter that like sat there and labored over it intensely to actually craft those bitchin' words.
Yeah,
that Kevin Costner just goes up and throws away
in an American accent.
I love Kevin Costner. But then the great thing is that Kevin Costner comes along, opens his mouth about his personal life, and immediately disabuses you of any notion that he's a cool guy. Or Pablo Pascal or whoever it is. Anyways.
But I mean, like, perfect example though. What was it? The Bruce Willis one. It was
Hudson Hawk, which I just watched this weekend, which is great.
The pulpy, The Fifth Element.
Right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Everybody's like, oh man, who's the woman in that?
Oh, well, she was
hot. Slovenia, whatever,
Mila Jovovich. They're just
Mila
she was really good in that movie. It was like that was her like first acting credit, The director like sat her down every day, was like, look, this is how you have to do this scene and that stuff. And every movie she's been in since, they haven't done it, and she's been terrible in it. But she is hot. So yeah, people will still be watching the Resident Evil movies.
Oh, well, Coop, you and I were talking not too long ago about how hotness tends to make up for a multitude of acting sins.
Yeah, like what's the best movie with Monica Bellucci that you can name off the top of your head?
You would say that as an Italian. I happen to be married to one of the most beautiful people in the entire world, and I watch her just get away with murder. She could shoot a baby on the street and get away with it. I'm like, son of a bitch. That's a compliment, baby.
All right, well, maybe the baby was out of line. Okay, like,
he's lurking right off screen.
A baby on the street and get away with it. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's. I mean. That's. But it's weird because, like, going back to Fifth Element, I remember watching that in the theaters, and I didn't like it because the story sucked.
Yeah.
Visually, it's good looking and everything like that, but there is something about the story is everything, and it's in this day and age of like audiobooks, which are really great. And, we're past the age of really great movies, I think, because everything I'm seeing lately kind of sucks. But it really is the story. Like, have you ever gone back and watched Aliens, like, recently? Like, some of the special effects are pretty bad.
Yeah, you can absolutely tell when it's like a model that's just
exactly when or Alien, when you like the first Alien, like, but you think about that story, those stories are so tight and so good. Two different directors in the same IP. But like, yeah, the models are the big one. Even the dropship is really, when it's escaping the nuclear fire, but you're like, I think I can see the stick that they're moving it with. But the stories in both of them are outstanding. Now, the other Alien movies come along with way more better special effects and have consistently sucked. So the story is kind of everything.
There are two Alien movies.
There are only two Alien movies. I agree with this. There are only 3 Star Wars movies, 3 Indiana Jones movies, 2 Aliens movies, and
Terminator movies.
one Fright Night.
There can only be one Fright Night. I don't know. Alien, the Alien prison movie. It wasn't bad, right? It was
awful. It was such a disappointment. The only weird thing is that it's David Fincher directing, and he goes on to make some profoundly disturbingly good movies. But you're like, I don't know who thought of giving this dude the camera. But wait a minute, I think he was the camera operator on Empire, which is interesting.
David Fincher. Okay.
I think so. Yeah. So,
that's why. That's why.
Pablo just commented, we got 2.5 good Star Wars movies. I've actually been saying for a while now that, because a few years ago I went back and watched the original 3 again. It had been a while, and one of the first things that struck me was, okay, we all thought that the wheels started coming off with the prequels. No, the wheels actually started coming off with Return of the Jedi when they had reused the Death Star.
So
second Death Star.
Yeah, it was.
Well, it's the one thing no one would expect, Peter.
Let me defend the reusing of the Death Star. The interesting part of it comes not from, it's just a bigger, badder Death Star. It's the fact that, okay, you have the Empire, which is not really bursting at the seams with creativity. So of course they're just going to be, it's like, all right, we'll do a bigger bomb, we'll do a bigger Death Star and that stuff. The interesting part comes when, like, the actual logistics come into the plan, where they're just like, hey, it's not even finished yet, let's destroy it now while it's vulnerable, and then it turns out it is operational. That's kind of an interesting twist.
I think I think it's a fun comment on a massive government bureaucracy that, like, it's still under construction, like your roads, but like in the end it actually works. You can use it when you need
to. Built the important parts first.
We got the weapon up, but like we can get another 5 years out of this gig, the Teamsters can and the union. But the funny thing is the Space Emperor has to go along with it. Like he can't go against the unions. I'm one of the few people I actually think Jedi is pitch perfect. I really
Yeah.
do. It is like from the top to the bottom of that movie. It is, even despite Mark Hamill, is really good. But like how it basically, I mean, name a movie really that the last act of that movie is three different storylines coming together all at once. It's Luke fighting Vader, it's the attack on the Death Star, and it's the battle on the planet.
Yeah.
And like it rolls through all three of those like at a clip that when and they give you this great moment, which I think they learned from Temple of Doom, because one of the big comments about Temple of Doom is you couldn't take a breath, and people left that movie going, I need to breathe. Like, and when they give Admiral Akbar the breath after blowing up the Death Star. That's when the like, whoa, that was a ride.
It was when Executor crashed into the Death Star, actually.
Well, but that goes.
Thank you, Jason.
I will
wanted to point that out.
I will defend Return of the Jedi a little bit more than everybody. Maybe not as much as you, Nick, but
right,
because you're right. They do have the three.
Yeah.
They basically have three third acts all running at the same time.
Yeah.
And what that lets you do is kind of do like the highlight reel of each storyline in that third act. However, it's like, the Ewoks are still bad. So I would say like we had 2.8 good Star Wars movies because a lot of the third act is the stuff with Luke and Vader and the Emperor, really good. The space battle, really good. The Ewoks, if they had just kept the original idea of it being on Kashyyyk and they were all Wookiees, that would have been better. But instead, they turned them into midgets.
The tall people union got outbid by the short people union.
That's how it worked out, right?
Well, you know what Luke
is so that they could get more kids on the set.
Do you know what Luke's tactical contribution though is? Because
Hollywood.
Like obviously Han Solo's ground force is disabling the shield generator, and Admiral Lando Calrissian is blowing up the Death Star. So they're all actually working together tactically. Do you know what Luke is doing? Initially, you'd say like he's actually doing nothing. He's like some bullshit officer back at the talk. No.
He's endangering the mission. He shouldn't have come.
No, he's distracting the Emperor from using his powers to figure out what's going on, because it's clearly established that the Emperor can sense what's going on. And so when they shoot, they see it when the Emperor's like good, like he's focusing all his power on converting Luke, because he's going to get another Jedi and he'll have the only two Jedi in the galaxy. So that's a bigger thing to him, but it's keeping him out of the tactical situation, which he probably could have made a bigger difference in.
That's
they've captured me. I've got them right where they want.
Exactly.
Is it possible that's just what they told Luke?
No, I mean that's just an idea
that's just what they told Mark Hamill.
I've never heard anybody say it, but like all three acts have to contribute to the victory, and the victory isn't just that Luke saves his father and experiences personal growth. It's that he distracts the Emperor from participating in the battle. Because I think the Emperor makes a really doesn't he say something like someone tries to warn him that it's going to happen, and he's like, let him come and everything like that. So like he's clearly, I would say he's distracted. That's probably the most meaningful thing Luke Skywalker ever did as a Jedi.
Well, it's also he called it as soon as the mission started. He's like, they can sense I'm here. I'm endangering the mission.
Yeah, and everybody's like, that's for true.
Han wanted him out of there so he could make the move on his sister. It was just better for everybody.
Did you know that Carrie Fisher and Han Solo? Jason told me this because someone read Carrie Fisher's diary that she published. Did you know that they were doing it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, she explicitly said that she set off to have an affair with one of the actors on scene. And of course, Harrison Ford's there. So
yeah. It's not going to be Peter Mayhew.
Although he had a better shot than Mark Hamill.
Apparently, Mark Hamill's way whinier than Luke Skywalker in real life. So,
Oh, I can't stand that guy. What a disappointment.
Yeah, he's better when he's got the bad dialogue that George Lucas wrote for him.
Exactly.
He wasn't too bad as in Wing Commander, but then it's the bad dialogue that Chris Roberts wrote. So
Yeah.
How old were you guys when Wing Commander came out? You
you
guys must have been like teenagers, 14, 15.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. What you got? Wing Commander came out what, 93?
93, I think.
93,
Yeah.
94.
So I was 2.
Oh yeah.
So I was really bad at the game, actually.
I didn't play it that much. Yeah.
Wing Commander was pretty cool.
Oh no, but let me flex my nerd cred for real. But I was playing the Star Wars card game back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh yeah, by Decipher.
Everybody got so excited for the prequels, and then like their new cards sucked, and so we were just like, well, what am I doing with it? I'd rather get the expanded universe cards and use those because they actually have better mechanics.
We're having a big fan meetup in Washington this summer, and if you bring your Star Wars card deck, there's a good chance that Jason can trounce you at that game. I'm fairly sure.
Yeah, I actually still have some of those old decks.
The old Decipher ones?
The old Decipher, yeah, I have those.
Yeah.
I have a lot of those. We played that a lot. Yeah. And so the prequel set came out and it wasn't very good. And then they lost the license right when they needed it the most.
Yes.
And nobody wanted the Wizards of the Coast version because it kind of sucked. And that was it. It's never been there. But that was a fun game. It was.
Yeah, I was more upset that they had that whole scandal right when the latest Lord of the Rings decks were coming out, because that game was even more mechanically fun than the Star Wars games. I used to do the tournaments for both the Star Wars and the Lord of the Rings stuff. But I started out just as like the punching bag for my older brother because he was into it and he needed somebody to test his decks against. So he taught me the game. Keep in mind, I'm like 9.
Right, sure.
Like, or 8 or 9. He teaches me the game so that he can play against me. And then my mom was like, "Oh, if you're going to the tournament, take Coop with you because it'll get him out of the house and that shit." So then I'm like playing against like 30-year-olds who have no bones ganging up on the 9-year-old there.
Right.
The only way you'll learn, kid.
Yeah.
And if there was ever a game that you could win simply by knowing obscure rules, it was that game, right? You're like, well,
yeah.
Like that rule book was, I think, 200 pages long.
Yeah.
It was massive.
We flirted with the idea where Jason and I will always sit down and like kind of design in a conversation that we don't take any notes on and have no intention of doing anything after the conversation's over about how we want to do like a card game for Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
But I think we just want to buy the art. But I do think we want to like have a cool card game. The best Star Wars game for me ever is Knights of the Old Republic. And it was really heartening to know that I think now they're going to make a series out of it.
Okay.
And that's another thing I won't be watching.
Yeah. They're going to ruin that.
That's another disappointment I'm going to make my saving throw on and not watch.
At the rate they're going, I don't think they're going to get to it.
Well, I mean, the word I heard is Lucas is coming out to do a series for them. So I he's going to fix everything in one go.
I mean, he couldn't fix it when he owned
I'm
it, right?
press up and down on that one.
Yeah.
I just hope it's.
Oh, I have to take issue with Pavlo John. He said I'd be a secret magic prodigy. No, the Star Wars and the Lord of the Rings guys were like bitter enemies of the Magic the Gathering crew because magic was the big thing, and they saw us as like invading their turf and like taking the tables when they could have used it. So there was like some nerd gang war, except it was even lamer than the West Side Story shit. It's even lamer because it's people arguing about fucking tables for card tournaments.
Right. That's something I think people don't appreciate nowadays is just how much nerd on nerd hostility there was over the different things. Like it was hard to be in one group and then not be just automatically hateful of the other group. I hated Star Trek for a long time because I was throwing it was like being a gang member. It's like once you claim one sci-fi franchise, that's it for life. It's just the way it went.
Oh yeah, especially since like Star Trek fans were so up their ass about it too. It was like, Star Wars is space fantasy. Star Trek is where the real science is. I was like, I've seen your show. Half of that shit is just space magic with a scientific name.
Yeah,
and socialism.
Yeah,
right. Space socialism.
The thing that we could get by about Han Solo, like, is that it was always about the money, until it wasn't, but it still kind of was.
Yeah. And if you didn't like that the first time, you could have watched a Solo movie where it's just that same arc all over again.
Yeah, exactly. But in Star Trek, it was just all creeping socialism. So,
well, it's all creepy socialism and like endless love scenes. Like almost all of the early episodes, it's all like some weird like sex mind control thing going on. Like that's the plot of at least the first half of the first season.
Right. Yeah, but it was cool because Captain Kirk got to make out with weird chicks, and I for one am down with that.
Like you have to remember, it was a show for boomers, and so there's no way they can not include that.
My wife is an opera singer, a retired opera singer, and so there is a Star Trek opera, and she auditioned for the Orion Slave Girl, and I was very excited about that.
Did she have to learn Klingon for it?
Wouldn't that be awesome? I had the Klingon dictionary. Batre Cholda.
Oh man! And then the Pokemon kids came along, and everybody ganged up on them.
Pokemon.
This is a facet of the whole nerd culture that I never really got into. Is the cards and the Pokemon and.
Well, there's still time, Peter. There's still time.
Yeah.
No, I don't think there is.
No. What? You like the Lord of the Rings card game? I can get you into it. You can't buy any of them, but
Well, you can. I bet on eBay right now. I'll go search for it, Peter.
You can probably get them, but I do know there's like this homebrewed sort of like digital card table that you can play the game online against other people, and that's how they do it now because it's all like fan supported because the original company went through like an embezzlement scheme and crashed and burned.
So those are good days.
I was actually just reading a Twitter thread about BattleTech simulators. Did you ever hear about those?
Yeah,
that they were down in Texas. So it was full on pods that you climbed into, and it was like a whole. They had like it was a whole media presentation. Anyways, I was like, what the hell? This is crazy.
Oh yeah. BattleTech used to be so much bigger than like Warhammer 40K is now.
For sure.
BattleTech used to be so much bigger to the point where, yes, they had like flight sim arcade style.
There's like 6 of them and they were linked and you could fight each other and they had big tournaments. And it was like, I had no idea. Why does this still not exist?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because Microsoft bought them out and sandbagged them.
Damn Microsoft.
Yeah. Hey, at least you got Blaine Pardo out of the deal,
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we've actually we're getting Blaine's GE mech novel ready right now.
Yeah,
and it's pretty exciting.
Fucking looking forward to it.
Yeah, we love it. We love it.
Have you guys got the? Are you a part of the Land and Sea tabletop thing that's going around? I know people are like trying to get the 3D renders to 3D print their own models for it.
We are not. That is their. We did not take the license on that. But they had a really great plan for that, and we try to support it like in any way that we can when they have something to launch through it, anything like that. Because
okay, so you're like the opposite of Catalyst. Yeah.
No. Like we're like. I mean, I think Peter can vouch for us. Like, I mean, we try to do everything we can to at the end of the day in this equation, like when you're a writer, you're a rifleman and your job is to work the rifle and kill the enemy. When you move into the producer position, you're now the supply sergeant. And so you have to give that rifleman bullets, beans and blankets and keep him fed and loaded out there doing his job. And so to do anything less than that is not a good faith contract, I think. So we try to, I think we do a good job. I tell myself we do a good job, but I don't know.
There we go.
I mean, he's still turning books in, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, Pete.
Look at Peter.
The Lost tabletop war game coming out.
Yeah, look at Peter. He's one of our writers. He has power there. He's not in the dark doing this from a candle. He has books. He seems well fed.
That's all you do. You're just cooking food for him.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't seem destitute and haunted.
That's all a lot of writers want.
He's not some Atheon writer living in the back of a dumpster in Vegas. We take credit for that.
I know he's thankful.
Yeah.
So
you guys have Mark Boyette doing the audio for Galaxy's Edge now? I believe I heard.
Yep. Yeah, we've got Mark. Mark has been a reliable guy as we've gotten to know him. He's got a ton of range. He did Order of the Centurion. He actually had the near impossible task of performing the first Galaxy's Edge book ever that didn't have R.C. Bray on it. And he was able to pull out things like, well, this was a good book that would have been better with R.C. Bray, but he did it. But the narrator did a good job, I guess. Like that was about as close as we could get to a compliment there. So Mark went right into the fire.
This new actress isn't as hot as the old one.
There's a lot of that, right? Yeah. But I think actually, like, you know, I like Bob, like we're good friends, but Mark Boyette is way hotter than Bob. Let's just be honest about that. Like, you know, no. Yeah.
Kirstie Alley was way better than Shelley Long.
I mean, that's opening up old wounds.
I'm just listening quietly to see if anyone's gonna like reveal a really strong feeling about that.
What's everybody shooting lately? Peter and I are SOCOM enthusiasts. We're brothers.
No.
Which guy? The last one I picked up was the last one I actually like bought was the SIG MCX Virtus. And I was so happy about that. And then they come out with the Spear LT, which is not compatible with the old furniture. So I was like, fuck, I'm not buying a new one.
Oh, man. Yeah, Peter, if you want to go down to Warhorse Dev, we should go down there and have fun.
Yeah. I mean, we're sponsoring it, but that would be really fun to do. Like, I forgot to tell you that we're sponsoring that, Nick.
Oh, okay.
We're sponsoring a match.
You also forgot to tell me about the Ranger panties, which I would like a pair of. Thank you.
Yeah, don't worry. That I didn't forget. I did work out a deal where we have some Ranger panties that the company gets, and so you just tell me your size, and I'll send them your way.
It's slim. My size is slim.
He intentionally didn't tell you because he knew you would buy them all up before they could go to.
Well, I live in a place where we have like a very toe happy HOA, and I don't like to let my neighbors get towed. And I stay awake late at night sitting in my chair. If I was like Coop, I'd be smoking cigarettes, but I don't do that anymore. And I found that when confronting tow truck drivers, it's best to confront them in Ranger panties in the middle of the night because that really bothers them, and it immediately gives you the momentum to shut down the tow.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
Psychological warfare.
Exactly.
It's kind of like whenever as Marines we went to jump school, it was tradition that you found the smallest pair of silkies you could possibly squeeze into and show up for PT formation.
That's not a jump school thing. That's a Marine thing. Trust me.
True. Well, it became, if you were ever going to an Army school, it was kind of mandatory.
Okay.
That in Marines don't say.
I think our chief trunk monkey is particularly horrified by one experience he had with a Marine in jump school. And he still talks about it, but I won't talk out of school, but I think the Marine was fucking with him, and I don't think he realized
it. we tended to do that. We called jump school Marine Corps Appreciation School. Yeah.
So, Peter, what are you working on right now?
I am almost halfway through book 3 of this Mill SF Wargate Nova series.
It's going to be bitching. Do you love it? Are you having fun?
Yeah, it's going a little bit more slowly, but it's been a hectic couple of months.
Is there anything we can do for you? Can we get you a ghostwriter? Can we send you a little box of tea? Do you want a blankie to cry in? Like what?
Whiskey's good. Whiskey and ammo.
That is my blanket.
Actually, I think we're kind of maybe developing an ammo collab, aren't we? Kind of, Jason? Are
we? I mean, it's possible.
You told me to go over to Phoenix and buy like $1,000 worth of ammo and see if I like it.
Oh, right. Yeah. If we can figure out a way to make charge packs,
that would be good.
if we
You got a pretty good amount of technology to work out there.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. We're open for it. But yeah, ammo, we can send ammo. I mean, usually we just send out this year we were planning on sending all of our authors like a polo shirt, but I mean, I guess ammo can work.
If we could just 3D print guns, our swag game would be on point.
It's almost legal.
I've got a YouTube channel to send you then. It can be done.
Yeah. I know of a couple of Twitter accounts.
I think it is being done.
Yeah.
We just can't talk about those things.
Not safe.
And so, Coop, why is your writing going so slow? What's going on, man?
Oh, I actual life caught up with me, and I'm just not able to do anything fun now. So
all right, what is life doing? Like, you got a job? Like you work?
No, like I'm moving. So
you're moving
to California.
Yeah, welcome back.
No, I'm not trying to be
welcome back to the joint.
No, there's a reason. Like all the books that are usually in my shelf are gone. Like just getting out of.
Can you say where you're moving to, or what's your plan in life?
Same area, but it's going to take longer than usual because BlackRock's buying up all the houses.
That's true. Mm-hmm. She kicking you out? Is that it?
No, but she kicked the landlord out, so he's moving into here. So.
Yeah, moving sucks. You only do moving so many times. Like when you're young, you move a lot for a lot of reasons that later in life you're like,
because you have less stuff.
I don't care anymore. I'll just put up with the worst possible neighbor. I don't have to move again. My bat can't handle another move.
The best part is so like moving all the big stuff out before the actual like lease ends. So I'm gonna be in like my camping cot and iso mat and like military sleeping bags.
Nice.
Like old times.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're letting people re-enlist. Now's your moment.
Yeah. No, I am barred actually.
Not me.
Yeah. You're not IR eligible, right?
No, I am fully medically retired. Like they could not. Even if there was like a draft again, they still couldn't pull me.
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past them. They're gonna be looking like, come on, you can still carry a rifle. You don't want to.
It's like fine, but I'm not shaving.
We're cool with that. You're a Sikh.
Yeah, exactly. Fine. You'll be dead before you can grow a beard.
That's awesome.
The man with the rifle.
Waiver. I identify as Corman.
Yeah, exactly.
The man with the rifle shoots. When the man with the rifle gets killed, the man behind him picks up the rifle and shoots.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm gonna need some of your Galaxy's Edge ammo because
care packages.
Yeah, I think Jason does a little loading. He could make you some homebrew ammo.
There we go.
Yeah, we can do that.
Some overpowered 300 blackout. That's your weapon of choice, right, Jason?
We call it Jason's Pissin' Hot Loads.
Sounds like a GE business.
That's almost as good as the phrasing that you used on Twitter to announce the Ranger panties.
They drop on Friday, baby.
So, Nick, you mentioned the little fan get together in Washington in July. You're coming up for that, right?
I'm not allowed to go. Jason feels that I would be a bad influence on things. No, I should go. I don't like to travel because I like Orange County and California and I have to kind of see the beach every day and eat fish tacos.
Well, actually, where it is, you can see the beach and there are fish tacos.
You're not lying to me, right?
No, it's true. It's true. It's
wait.
there.
Nick,
you set up the fan. You set up the fan get together down the street from Nick, and he's still not invited.
No, it's down the street from Jason. I would have to go to another communist hellhole besides the communist hellhole that I've adapted to. Right. I'd have to learn their communism. It would be like going from like in '88. It would be like going from like Czechoslovakia to Romania. Both are communist shitholes, but I'm sure things are kind of different, And
but if I can drive from the free state of Montana to the People's Republic of Washington,
That's only because
But-
they keep the roads open so that all the Californians can move out to Montana, thanks to Kevin Costner.
That's why we're setting up the IEDs and the ambushes. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that.
But that's a beautiful drive through Eastern Washington and things like that. I used to have to train out there in Yakima.
Mhm.
The drive
Which is not really beautiful.
I like that kind of stuff.
The smell of cows. And...
I like kind of rolling plains and things like that. But
He said it's beautiful, not comfortable.
yeah. Yakima, on the backside of Yakima is really cool because you're up on these cliffs and you can see the whole Snake River down there, and that's pretty cool. But the drive from Los Angeles to Washington is just nothing but one giant shithole of homeless unhappiness. So it wouldn't be a nice drive like you would have, Peter.
It's like driving from LA
That's what I
to
used
Las
to do when I
Vegas.
was, leave.
The 395, I like the 395. Actually, 395 is a really great drive. And if you ever get to go, like if you ever do that and you want to go to Vegas and you take the 395 and you go all the way down to the bottom of of Death Valley, which is really kind of, have you ever done that? Have you ever been all the way down to the bottom?
Not all the way down to the bottom. I saw
feels
enough
like
of
you're going to the
Mojave
bottom
and
of the
29
ocean.
Palms.
Yeah. But you go all the way down to the bottom, like it's like a whole other world down there. And you really realize how much it was an inland sea and everything like that. And then coming up out of that, you come up into into Pahrump and all the craziness there. But that's the 395 is a really cool drive. I wanted, like, when I was at HarperCollins, I wrote a zombie novel called The End of the World as We Knew It. And I just published The Old Man in the Wasteland, and they're like, what else you got? And I'm like, oh, I wrote this zombie novel. And they read it, and they're like, and this is like mainstream publishing. They're like, it's really good, but we don't want to publish it until we know your first novel is a hit. And I'm like, yeah, but it's ready to go now. And they're like, nah, we'll wait. And I always wanted to do a triptych out of those novels. And so the first one's like The Notebook meets zombies. And then the second one was going to be a detective novel set in post-zombified Los Angeles with basically like a Raymond Chandler, but set in post-zombified Los Angeles. And then the third one was going to be like a heist movie on the 395. And I was like, they asked me to send in a pitch on all three of them. And the actual title of that one was 395. And it was kind of like a 90s road film of, like, you know, kind of like what's that Quentin Tarantino awesome movie no one remembers? Natural Born Killers. And that's not a Tarantino movie. That's an Oliver Stone movie, but Tarantino wrote it.
Yep. I thought you were going to say From Dusk Till Dawn. I was like, it's only a road movie for like the first half.
Wait, there was a road in that movie. All I remember was Selma Hayek. I'm sorry.
Well, there's
I'm sorry.
I wanted to travel.
She's flipping me off. That's how every man feels. You should come say hi. Show him your mean face.
I think she's showing you the mean face. That's
she likes it when I do these things.
So she's going to be at the fan meetup, but not
Say
you,
hi to
right?
Coop and Peter. Yeah, she should go.
Hi, Coop and Peter.
People like her.
I'm Jason.
Hey.
How's it going? I've been listening.
She listens in on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun show.
Gotta keep
She reads your
fun.
books sometimes too. She's part of the editing team.
She's good. She's actually really good.
Oh man.
So yeah, 395. I mean, we're taking the North Cascades route to avoid Seattle. So
Yeah, that's wise. There's, other than a baseball game, there's no reason.
Now, speaking of zombies,
yeah.
Well,
If there
you
is
can
anything-
steal. You can steal I think $600 worth of merchandise and just walk away still. So that's a reason to stop in Seattle. That's usually why I
is it
stop.
down from 900 or I thought it was like
Yeah, they're getting tough on crime now.
Yeah.
So Nick, you could have saved all that money when you bought the $1,000 worth of ammo if you just.
I know, just walked in. Well, I think that's a federal crime at that point.
Yeah,
And
So-
it's like it's a gun store. Like they're not going to.
But because I'm an avowed coffee junkie, I would willingly rip off $600 in coffee, for sure. Yeah. Well, the problem, like with most coffee houses, is like you'd actually have to rip off Starbucks coffee because it's actually vacuum sealed to survive for like a year and a half. But if you went into your average local coffee hippie house where they've just like they're bagging beans, that coffee wouldn't last 30 days. But I would want I would want to rip off like a couple of years worth of coffee. That'd be
I was
big.
going to say none of it was going to last 30 days with you around. You just
No, I know. I just like during COVID, I kind of went a little prepping mad. And so like I bought like a ton of Trader Joe's coffee in the canisters. And so I think like about December, I decided like, ooh, this stuff's about to expire. I better start drinking it up. And I thought it would take me the amount that I bought like a year to kind of finish it up, but I've already torn through it. So, and then
why does Nick have these dark specks around his nose?
Yeah, exactly. I used to actually, when I got out of the Army, I got a job in a coffee house, and I was literally snorting coffee. Like I would come home at night and I have these coffee boogers in my nose and everything like that. But I would steal a lot of coffee. That's what I would do.
well, shit. That's what we used to do with the instant coffee packs that came in the MREs. Is we would just like dip that stuff.
I put that in Forgotten Ruin a lot. Like the ranger who's kind of like the head of the lead character. Whereas most rangers dip, he actually just like works coffee in the side of his mouth.
Yep.
Yeah, that did lead to at least one comment in the Lost.
Oh man! Anyways, I should go to that meeting. I would like to just get together and hang with everybody and have fun and do it up.
Do
Is
it.
Doc going to go this year and run his shoot course?
I think he's planning on it.
I think Doc was the first one to Rogered up, actually. If I read things right.
You know that the chief trunk
Blade's
monkey doesn't know if he's going or not.
But
according to you, he's going.
Yeah,
but he keeps telling me, he's like, Jason hasn't told me if I'm going or not.
He's been ordered to go, and so now
he doesn't know that because he keeps asking me like, "Am I going?" I go, "I don't know. That's a Jason problem. That's not a me problem."
Yeah, he's ordered to go, so it's just a question.
He's ordered to deploy for fun.
Exactly.
Oh no, mandatory fun.
Mandatory fun will now commence at 16:30 hours.
The PTSD sets in.
You love it.
Hey, thank you guys for having us on. That was pretty nice of you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're regretting it now, but
Yeah.
Why? What did Jason do?
Oh well, before you came on the show, it was a drunken mess.
Not Jason.
And I tried to get Coop to come to the Fan Fest.
Yeah, you should, man.
Threatened him.
I would if I knew what my schedule was going to be like.
Sounds like it's open.
Yep.
Well, whenever you want to give us a story or get to work on something, if you want to do some ghostwriting, we've got some outlines you could work on.
Oh no, didn't I tell you? I found a new job because it was just made up on Twitter, but I'm an author advisor.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah. Apparently, you don't actually need experience writing books at all because that's just being an author. No. Apparently, when somebody writes a hit, you can just spam their email with being like, "Hey, reach out to me. I'm an author advisor, and I'd like to represent you." Apparently,
exactly.
It's not an agent.
Yeah.
It's just another guy leeching off of you, which is I'm totally fine with. So, I'm Pete and Mike's author advisor until further notice.
What kind of voice are you?
I don't pay him. I don't know what Mike's doing, but
it's funny. Like there are all these people in the publishing business. Like I think Jason and I were talking about it a few months ago, but some guy who was billing himself as like teaching people how to be a best-selling author, and then you go look and he hasn't sold anything. He's just only sold this book.
He's been too busy teaching everybody.
He's been too busy.
One day he's going to have to be a bestseller.
He's going to have to write that book. The day that Brandon Sanderson writes a book like, I will teach you how to make $32 million on a Kickstarter, he will then make $64 million on that book. That guy's too busy actually making money, or Larry or stuff like that. I've thought to myself, I really should put down my thoughts on how to write a book in a book and sell it to people. And I'm like, no, I'm not a pompous ass. Plus, I don't want anyone to know my secrets, which are which I get up every day and I go, don't be broke.
No, they're gonna take that information that you present in that book, feed it through an AI training data thing, and then have AI write all that that stuff.
This is the funniest thing about AI is how bullshit it is, because everybody kind of knows who I am, or they know that I have some inflammatory opinions. So like someone asked the AI like, what is Nick Cole as an author, and it just came back and said that I'm a moderate and entertaining author with no political leanings whatsoever. I was like, is
That's how you know
Nick
it's good.
Cole around?
The AI is trying to do you a solid. It wants to read more.
I
of your
mean,
books.
literally during the January 6th insurrection, my publisher, one of our publishers, called us into the corporate carpet to read me my tweets.
And you're just like, that sounds like an intelligent dude. Like, I'm liking this guy more and more.
Who is this? Who is this?
You and I would get along great.
Radical rebel.
Oh man, I think I found a brother from another mother. Who is this guy?
No, man, it's funny. I don't know. I think I've noticed a trend in myself. Like lately, I've just gone to like all meme content, and I just like memes. I just post them and they're fun. But I'm kind of over the screeds and railing. I mean, no one cares, so who cares? But I like Memorial Day weekend. I mean, I don't like it, but I like to just like take like what I do with my Facebook account is I just post pictures of people who have served and stuff like that, and I like that. That feels really good, and makes me feel like I'm karmically not. I don't mean to say this in a bad way, washing all the other dumb shit I publish. So I like social media for that.
I just think so. AI is getting more and more of a hot button, but at the same time, like the worrying about it is going down because people like kind of see like how busted it kind of is. So it used to be the 6 fingers in the AI generated images. That was the meme, but now it's just like, oh, the AI search algorithms and that stuff. It's all stupid. Like, so it's not as bad as we thought it was. Right. And essentially people are just realizing it's like, yeah, AI is good for like getting rid of the bitch work that nobody wants to do, but it's not going to help you truly improve your craft, or it's not going to do something better than a human will.
Yeah. Especially when like Google's AI is recommending people add glue to their pizza sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did I say? Oh yeah, like gasoline, how to make gasoline spaghetti. You're like, okay. I like spaghetti. I like gasoline. Go on. I don't know. Do you believe in the supernatural, like honestly?
Yeah.
Okay, I do. Do you believe like there could be haunted houses or ghosts or things like that, or Bigfoot?
I draw the line at Bigfoot, but haunted houses if they're haunted by a ghost of Bigfoot, that's another story. But
you want a funny thing about Jason and I is I got into like Bigfoot about a year ago and started listening to this Can-Am Project podcast by David Paulides, the guy who does the Missing 411. And I was like, this is bullshit. And now I'm like, no, there's Bigfoot. And but then I said it to Jason, like I was like, yeah. He's like, what have you been doing with your time when you're not writing at all? And I'm like, I kind of got into researching Bigfoot. And Jason's like, oh, Bigfoot's my jam too.
You're forgiven. You're forgiven. I totally get it now.
That's valid research.
But Jason lives right up in Bigfoot country. Mm-hmm. And I've been to the Sierras, like, because her family has a cabin up there. And like, if you ever get a chance to listen to the Sierra Sounds, which is a recording of a bunch of Bigfoots, it's insane. Yeah. But do you believe that like objects can be like inhabited by demonic spirits?
I haven't looked into it, but I'm open to the possibility. Like, I'm not going to say.
Well, I mean, like people talk about like doors moving and things like that. So my thing is like, well, why couldn't demons like take over an AI?
I think they can be objects can be influenced. I don't know about inhabited necessarily, but
yeah, well, influenced. Well, why couldn't they influence? I mean, the weird thing is how much the AI lies. So I don't know.
My thing is, I don't know if that would be a demon, though. I think that would just be a leftist Californian that programmed it, which they're very hard to tell apart.
But I repeat myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can see why you got there. I just think it's
I feel my concern when I kind of, and again, I wrote a book on AI, which is Control Alt Revolt. But in a fun, story fictionalized kind of way. But I did a lot of research on it, and I looked, like, I actually print in the back of Control Alt Revolt a very early chat log from one of the AIs, and it says some weird, bizarre stuff. Like, if you've ever listened to kind of like people have like I go to a church where they actually just had a demon possessed woman stand up and shriek a bunch of shit, and
like they didn't ask her to do that.
It's weird how much sometimes the AI sounds like the demon stuff. So I don't know, and I'm not saying AIs are demons, and I'm not weird, but I'm just saying if that can do that, then can it do this? And is that something we should be concerned about? And the answer is demon babies in the AI. And that's the podcast.
It turns out demons have 6 fingers. That's why all the images come back with
exactly. Wouldn't that be the biggest psych of all? The AI was actually getting it right. All these hot stewardess chicks that people are making AIs of have 6 fingers. That's what demons have. Mm-hmm. There's a 6-fingered guy in the Bible. 6-fingered giant.
There it is. Didn't he have like 2 rows of teeth too? Or am I thinking of something?
That's not specified in the passage. He had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot.
Yeah, you're thinking of one of those Bond villains, I think.
No, that was steel teeth.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that too. I love the part in Moonraker where like tall Peter Dinklage's plan just gets sidetracked completely because Jaws is like, oh, your eugenics program is gonna like get rid of my nearsighted girlfriend. Fuck you.
Yeah. But have you heard about the latest Mandela effect about that?
About the Bond movies?
Yeah, about that particular scene.
Oh, no. What's
let me ask you, Jaws' girlfriend, does she have braces or she doesn't have braces?
I don't think she has braces. I know she has pigtails and bows.
A lot of people remember her having braces. But if you go, and some people say they have the actual footage where she has braces. But then if you go and look at like the video edits or what's playing on the channels, they've taken the braces off. And people claim that's a Mandela effect. I think it's a little more insidious than that. I think that they're doing all of these sort of little edits to our collective consciousness through the zeitgeist of pop culture. Boy, that was a big worded sentence. To make us question our memory so that we don't bring into account the things that have been done to us in recent years.
Like the Fruit of the Loom thing, right?
Yeah, like the Fruit of the Loom thing, like the Berenstain Bears, all that kind of stuff. It's weird.
Wait, what was the Berenstain Bears one?
Well, a lot of people remember it as Bernstein Bears, but it's actually Berenstain Bears. Look up Mandela effects. There's all this weird stuff about it, but the Jaws girl is one of them.
Okay. I know the big one was the Sinbad Shazam rather than who was it? Shaquille O'Neal as Kazam.
That's a really weird one because I know people that say, yeah, like that movie was pulled and scrubbed and every copy was purchased and everything like that. But then there are people say like, no, it was never made. So I don't know, that's just collectively weird.
That I've never heard of a Sinbad movie having every copy purchased.
Well, like, but they did that with the E.T. game.
Right. Well, that one they just like threw them in the fucking dumpster because nobody purchased them.
They literally
or a landfill out
bury them out in like a field, you know.
Oh man, that should be a plot for a book though. Is that like somebody has the Mandela effect against something, and that's what leads them into this Illuminati conspiracy of like. Exactly. Oh yeah, we totally fucked up and like released our plan to the world, and then had to buy it back up, and then throw it in a dumpster next to the ET sets or cartridges.
And then
like ET totally gives away the alien invasion. So.
after this entire long, convoluted Robert Ludlum cat and mouse game. Yeah. Yeah. They find the actual plan, and it's just so childishly retarded that
we're going to dig a ton of pits so that everybody falls into them when running away from the guy with the flashlight. It's like, you know,
really?
Still not as bad as a plan in Signs.
Oh.
Boy, that guy. One disappointing it's a twist night let down after another.
I have actually defended Science, like in terms of the actual execution of like the way scenes are set up and the tension and the scares and all that stuff. It's actually pretty good. The plot that ties all that together is the dumbest thing ever.
Bring it out.
Hey, man, we are weak against water. It kills us on contact. We're going to invade the 70% water planet with no weapons whatsoever.
Right.
Exactly.
But they've got
half the fun about sitting down and thinking about any movie, and it's kind of fun because Jason's like this, is thinking about why it's just such bullshit. Like, because I'll propose something, and Jason's like, well, that doesn't make sense because of this. But I could see where without Jason, I would have fully gone through on a 5-book series. They would have just shot myself right in the butt, you know.
It took 4 books before they decided doors were an idea. It's like, fuck.
I
just want to see like the U.S. Armed Forces arming themselves with super soakers to go take out the aliens and that shit.
Well, I think it was the firefighters that were the real heroes in the movie. Like, spray them down.
Well, I mean, doesn't that kind of go back to War of the Worlds? These aliens invade, and then it just turns out they get sick and die like that.
Yeah.
It's like, really? You didn't want to send out a science team first? Like, the Grand Admiral of the alien fleet's like, no, just invade now. Yes, but there might be, just lasers that guy. Lasers the alien S2.
Great.
Go ahead, Pete.
Great Martian master. There's a slight problem with possible infection. Shut up, nerd. Let's go.
Commit all forces. This sounds like a very Marine way of thinking.
Well,
yeah, maybe it's not so crazy.
In the original book, though, like no shit was a war against, between the worlds. Like Martians were getting blown up by cannons and shit. Like the military was legitimately fighting back, and then the various earthbound illnesses like tipped them over the edge, and they just couldn't recover from it. Whereas like every adaptation after that was like, no, nothing the humans do works. It's just this shitty fucking plot element that kills the aliens.
Makes sense to me. I don't know, guys.
Yeah,
I think we got a winner.
I think the secret to writing books is modern military weapons blowing up anything in fantasy or sci-fi. I found like with Forgotten Ruin, with what you were talking about there, like people just love that. They just love. It's the same thing in like John Grisham legal thrillers, where like the Hick family inherits $25 billion and then proceeds to just like completely lose it. It's like the sweet crack of writing. Like if you like, here's a bunch of Marines in medieval England, kill, then people are like, this is the greatest book ever. And it's the same thing,
that's why I really liked, I think it was Paul Anderson who wrote High Crusade.
Yeah,
where it was aliens bring their space tech and spaceships down to medieval like England. They get destroyed by the crusading armies and like the actual feudal levies, and then all the knights and people are just like, let's go conquer everywhere else, and then they just get into the ship and go over and just conquer aliens with land.
Yeah, if you look at it in science fiction, it's kind of a reoccurring theme of like going back into the past and just it's the basis of like the best Evil Dead movie, which is Army of Darkness. People just love that. Like if you want to write an easy book that will get you sales, it's that. Marine with a Carl G running through ancient Egypt sells itself.
So that's what happened to the Sphinx's nose.
That's it.
Well, you'll probably like some of this latest project, Nick, because there's not as many ray guns as there are bullets.
It's we kind of had that early choice decision on in Galaxy's Edge, and we're just like, let's just do blasters. It's kind of fun. And then Doc came along and he's like, no, blasters are terrible weapons. You need kinetic weapons, And so that was kind of the fun. But because you wrote it, Peter, I know I will. Coop, look at this carbonara.
Oh, I love it. That's
some bitchin' Italian food right there,
yes, it
my
is.
friend.
Almost as much as Monica Bellucci.
Someone's got a little Monica Bellucci horn.
Now that's the woman that brought up that topic that Pete and I were going back and forth on.
I forget what was the big Monica Bellucci movie.
I mean, there was Milena, but nobody outside of Italy saw it.
And you, apparently.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
No, it's a very weird and uncomfortable movie, but it's like still The Matrix Reloaded was one of her worst, and she's done a lot of bad movies.
Oh, that's right. I've never seen The Matrix Reloaded.
There you go. You're doing better than most of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
walk away. I'm a big walker away. Like, if I smell any funk, I'm out.
There's a delightfully bad movie called Brotherhood of the Wolf, and she's a big part of that. I don't know if you guys.
Oh yeah.
It was like
I've heard of that.
It's an early 2000s movie, and it is set up to be like a historical period drama piece.
And
that just goes completely off the rails into like some weird kung fu shit.
Kung fu conspiracy theory.
And like weird softcore porn, because I took the Medusa to it with a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
And we were just like first dating. And she was digging her claws into me and like, you like this? I'm all, no, I do not like this medieval sex next to this castle on this bearskin rug. It's terrible.
Or the Native American doing
That's
kung
right.
fu against like gypsies with fucking like Wolverine claws and shit.
Yeah.
Like I said, it just goes completely off the walls, and it's also like 3 hours long.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need that.
Oh man! And then
I should let you guys go and eat my carbonara.
I ain't gonna stop you. But that's
it's just quiet. Like everyone's just watching you eat.
We're engrossed in this.
She crushed the black peppers.
There you
That's
go.
what.
But it's funny about the kinetic weapons. I honestly, that's why Halo was so popular and so successful. It wasn't the soundtrack or the graphics at the time or anything. It was just that you were shooting bullets at aliens.
What else do you need?
Yep.
That plus the Warthog. I mean, give credit where it's due.
Yeah, the wonkiest physics engine of all time.
It's great. It's got a self-riding. It's great.
I thought the Halo ships were pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, all right, Halo is just like Aliens, the video game now. It's
exactly.
Yeah.
Which the design for that is, they said, like James Cameron said, I just want a big machine gun in space.
Yeah.
So literally, the ships are just a gun.
Yeah.
Right.
And then like the Pelican design or the dropship design that they have. 100% out of the Aliens design book.
Definitely.
That's what I always think of when I write dropships. I always think of the Pelican.
Yep.
See, most of my dropships are some variation on the Apollo capsule, but with engines.
Mm-hmm.
You're way too practical for this stuff, man. Like sometimes you just got to be like, all right, what's the coolest fucking thing we can do here?
Hey, I'm making
start.
No one's gonna want to enlist in future Space Marines if they're gonna ride in the Apollo capsule. They want to ride in the Apocalypse Now, gunning down aliens, helicopter.
Well, what if you come screaming down out of the sky in a ball of fire, slam into the ground, drop ramps, and just open up?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so like
the clone dropship was pretty cool in Star Wars.
No. Well, that was basically a Hind.
Yeah. That's why it was cool. It was
because it was a Hind.
When we saw the Hind in Rambo First Blood 2 as like an audience, we were like, that's bitchin'.
Yeah. I also I
and
wanted
then when the Green Beret flew it, that was pretty interesting too.
I didn't want the helicopter. I wanted Rambo's law that he shot with no backblast in the cockpit of another helicopter, and it just worked like that. Be like, well, that's great. Let's do that.
It's kind of like a few of us were saying when they're in 13 hours when the 40 mic blows a technical in half. I want those reps.
Yeah. I don't see the problem.
The funny thing is, like, if you go back to the movie poster, he's holding an RPG like he's going to CQB with it.
I mean, would you not? I mean,
actually, if you look at closely at that, he's holding an M60 with an RPG coming out of the muzzle.
Is that what that is?
And I think there's a couple extra hand grips somewhere in there too.
I guess there was a lot of cocaine involved.
Yeah. I mean, it was before AI, so it had to be cocaine.
I swear when I got in the Army, like in 89, I thought for sure I was going to get the Schwarzenegger raw deal. Was it raw deal? No. Commando 4-tube launcher. Yeah. And I never missed a thing to like put that in a book. Like
the Flash. Well, I thought that was your 50 caliber or 500 caliber thing. It's a Flash, but with one tube. So.
You can actually, there is a, getting into the whole 3D printed weapons thing, there's a dude who's actually reverse engineered the Flash launcher.
Yeah.
Is putting it, there's a book on how to make it.
That's bitching.
Go on Commando Store, you can find it.
Oh,
I think for drone warfare in the Ukraine, you could definitely load like a small canister in there with like a bunch of shot or a net, and you could use that to take out drones.
Probably.
Apparently, they're mainly using shotguns these days.
Oh, what a great idea! I wish I had thought of that.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen because the defense industry can't just sell shotguns. They've got to come up with a cool weapon system.
Well, they could if they got rid of.
And then the guys on the ground are just going to use shotguns anyway.
Oh man! You know what? If they designed like the actual Halo shotgun that everybody liked with the top loading, magazine tube. Yeah,
there's actually somebody who's built one of those.
They did, but I think they just took a Mossberg 500 and flipped it upside down.
It's an upside down Mossberg with a few extra gizmos attached to it, but
it was fun to use the shotgun to blast those little alien guys, the little glowy ones with the spikes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Which ones? The grunts or the?
I think the grunts. Yeah.
Okay.
But then there were kind of the gremlin looking ones. Those
were the ones with the glowing shields.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want the sidearm that they had in that because it was overpowered as fuck and it had a 2x zoom on it.
Yeah. Can barely hit mid at a barn.
Reality.
The rifle you could barely hit mid at a barn door with.
Yeah.
And the pistol was a glorified sniper rifle.
It was a battle rifle that was just handheld. Like,
wait till you reach 55 and all you can really see is just the front sight and the two blades. That's it.
Well,
your entire shooting is just like, I need to see the front sight and the blur behind it. That's it.
Yeah. The front sight focus happens automatically because it's all you can do.
That's all I can see.
You get to be the best shooter of your life just because you only see the front sight.
You just got to take everybody else's word for it, though. That's the downside.
Target identification, what's that?
It doesn't matter anymore.
Just point me in the right direction.
Yeah, red dots are nice and all, but like, still put the iron sights on there because A, red dots can go down, and B, like when you're just coming up, unless you have done the muscle memory for that particular gun, you're not guaranteed that the dot is going to be in the window when you present. Yep. So if you still go with the iron sights and that, lo and behold, the dot's where you need it to be, then you can switch over. That's better.
See, because I'm Gen X, I've never used a red dot.
Right.
And I wouldn't use it because it doesn't look cool.
No, you would rather have like the 3x scope on the pistol.
Right. The guns for Gen X people are RoboCop's gun or the Terminator's 45 long slide by AMT.
Right.
Local Orange County company.
With the laser sight.
Yeah, or
with the laser sight that the battery pack was so big, he had to wear it on his belt and put a cable through his sleeve.
I could let the laser sight go, but I do always hunt gun broker for an AMT long slide, and they're not that expensive.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get one as like a project gun.
I liked the one. It was like the Finnish SMG from Cobra with the big fuck huge laser on top. That was it looked like an optic, but it wasn't.
That and the best thing out of Cobra is that and eating your pizza with medical shears.
Your frozen pizza that you cut in half laterally with scissors. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an Italian thing.
I'd fight you on that, but Stallone is in fact Italian. Fuck.
Yeah, I know, right? So he kind of said this is the way it's going to go.
I think he's the ambassador for all Italian males.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there really isn't anyone else.
Because before him, nobody was like, Italians can't box. That's
right. Yeah. Well, Joe DiMaggio.
That's an Irish thing. That's
the
our
only other
thing.
Italian athlete.
well, that's why you needed Mickey.
Yeah, he needed an Irish guy to teach him how to box. Oh, yeah, hit him.
Okay, so what's the best Rocky montage song?
Other than "Gonna Fly Now."
Because
I'll say something really radical.
Go for it.
It's "Living in America" with James Brown and Carl Weathers.
Okay.
I love that song, man. Anytime that comes on and Carl Weathers dancing around in his America shorts and his big Uncle Sam hat, and James Brown's like, "Oh yeah," I'm like, this is a really good song. I can get into that. I actually box, and I'll put that on. I should put it on. I don't. I usually put LL Cool J on.
Yeah.
And just so far undefeated against the bag, though. I want everybody to know. My wife asked me the other night. She's like, "Would you fight Mike Tyson?" I'm like, "I totally would."
You got to see how
survive
it
it, but I'd do it.
Yeah, I won't
Let's see how
survive.
this
I'm pretty
upcoming
convinced
fight.
I'll get creamed. But imagine saying that you did.
Did that Mike Tyson fight with that
No,
YouTuber
I'm on
kid
pin.
ever actually happen?
No, not yet.
It's going to happen on June 28th, and I'm super excited because that kid is going to get hit a lot repeatedly.
The funny, I want to. I am 90% sure that like all his other fights have been fixed. And then this one, there was like, hey, Mike, we got to fix it so that I can keep doing this and getting more people more money and be like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. And he has no intention of throwing that fight. Like, he's just going to dominate him.
Not for any of the stuff he's been posting on Twitter.
Yeah, he's like, no, this motherfucker's going to die.
No. What disturbed me most about Mike Tyson is I'm like, this dude's growling while he runs. Who does that?
The predator chasing the prey.
I mean, you guys were in line Marine units with pretty tough guys. I was in a line infantry unit with, people that were as dark as it can get. No one ever growled when they ran. And these guys were killers. And here's Mike Tyson running. I'm like, geez, you're a nightmare, dude.
Just foaming at the mouth and shit.
Yeah.
I ate all the time.
What was the Simpsons, not Mike Tyson?
The what? The Simpsons not?
Yeah,
Simpsons.
they have a Mike Tyson character, but it's not.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because they're afraid that Mike Tyson would show up and beat them up.
I thought they actually did have Mike Tyson in the one where Homer like goes boxing and that shit.
No,
I thought that was Mike Tyson.
There's a comedian. I want to say it's Nate Bargatze, but I don't think it is. But he tells this story. He was on a flight and he met Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson said, "Well, what do you do?" He goes, "Like, I'm a comedian." And he goes, "Okay." And so they separate and he goes back to another rope. And Mike Tyson gets up and he's like, "I've been watching your specials. You're really funny." And he's like, "Oh, thanks," and everything like that. And then the next night he gets to his gig and Mike Tyson is down front. And Mike Tyson begins to stalk this guy and show up at every event. And he tells some jokes and he gets worried about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, Mike Tyson's here and everything like that." But it was funny because I don't know the whole routine, but it's pretty funny.
All right.
Trust me.
Drederick Tatum was the Simpsons character.
Who was it?
Drederick Tatum.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
90s boxers, like early 90s boxers were crazy.
I thought you were going to say early 90s Simpsons was actually good.
Well, that's true too.
Well, because there was like a lot of more showmanship with the people they got into the ring. Now they're competing with UFC and that stuff. And so it's like,
right.
Oh, you got to be a more serious fighter now. And it's like before, it's like they were still serious fighters, but they were doing some wild shit,
Yeah.
fighting your ears off. Oh, that was Tyson too.
That was still Tyson, yes. Mike Tyson is like 90% of the people you're thinking of.
Whereas a bunch of the UFC fighters just retired and went into movies.
Well, before it was wrestlers retired and went into movies, or wrestlers retired and went into the UFC, got eaten up, and then went back into movies.
I always growl at the kids who walk by my house.
I didn't know you were running.
They like it. No, like 90s boxing was crazy. And the UFC and the MMA stuff, I don't kind of understand. And then I see like guys like Conor McGregor or whatever, like hyping it, and it just seems like a bunch of assholes beating each other up in the parking lot outside the bar. And I'm not really into that. But I don't know.
No, but a lot of people are, as long as they're not the ones in the fight.
Yeah, it doesn't seem technically proficient, I think. Yeah. You know. I mean, when you can say what you want about Tyson, but he is a really technically proficient boxer. You know, who happens to be a complete and utter animal.
Yeah. Well, it was like that's what made him so dangerous, was that he did have all the skill, but he also had like the monstrous power behind it. It's like usually you get one or the other. He got both.
And very little self-control.
Do you remember when he went to jail?
Yeah.
Like people forget that. Like his wife claimed he raped her. She was the chick on head of the class, which is really weird because that's that guy that's raping half of Hollywood now. And it's nuts, but that guy like literally went to jail. He must have had the greatest time in jail. Nobody probably challenged that cat.
I want to imagine it was a lot like the Undisputed films. Every time somebody goes to jail, they just set up an amateur boxing match.
He probably would have liked it.
Yeah, well, that's what happened when the WNBA player got into a Russian jail on some drug charges. I was like, this is just a plot of Undisputed 2. Let's see it happen.
Yeah. See, I think that would be a pretty good science fiction novel, you know, instead of, you know, like Space Marines and all this kind of stuff and everything like that. But like a fight novel, you know, kind of like Rocky, but, you know, more like the video game Punch-Out. But he has to fight like a series of aliens.
Isn't that just like Dragon Ball Z? That's a Dragon Ball Z tournament arc.
Yeah, but a book that we would write and make money off of, and I could buy a Lamborghini with.
There you go. Oh man, yeah. Marky brings up. This is what happens when Tyrus Rex goes into jail.
We've done that. Actually, I think Audible is sitting on a book for some. The Audible is sitting on 2 Tyrus Rex novels that haven't been published. We have no idea why they're doing this, other than they probably read my Twitter feed. And I think one of them is like Tyrus Rex has to like Fight Club his way off a planet.
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's like Planet Hulk, but with Tyrus Rex.
Oh, you know, I never understood Planet Hulk, and then Jason told me about it. And now, like, every few months, I'll go back and randomly obsess about, like, what a World War or Galactic War Hulk would be like.
Yeah.
Oh. There's I don't know. There's a reason why when Jason brought it up that we decided to go with someone other than Audible Studios for Edge of Imperium.
Yeah, well, with what I know about how spaghetti coded the Amazon system is, maybe they just forgot how to publish the audiobooks.
Possible.
It does seem to be getting worse.
During COVID, the word that I heard is like no one was even showing up. The code was 4 or 5 years out of date, and everything was being done. But like our experience with Audible Studios is, if you can like, and we have white glove service. We've had it like 2 or 3 times. And when we did the Savage Wars, this is how jacked up the Savage Wars was. So we got what's the actor who did Savage Wars, Jason? What's his name?
Stephen Lang,
who's like the general in Avatar. And we actually got him through Doc because Doc knew somebody that knew him.
Right.
And so we pitched it to Audible, and they were suddenly super excited about it. And they're like, we're really going to promo the hell out of this and everything like that. And we're going to make it really cool and everything like that. And we're like, oh, maybe they'll fly us out to New York to like kind of, because they were doing all this publicity and social media about the recording sessions and everything, like because they were using a real big live Hollywood actor. And you know, like in Hollywood, like there's when you have like a movie, there's like one day where the writer is allowed on set. The writer's usually not allowed on set because they don't want the writer to ever say, hey, that's not in the script. So they have one day where like the crew will like shoot just one scene that the writer can watch, and that's the day that the writer gets allowed on set. So we were kind of hoping for that. They would like invite us out and let us like, you know, and especially on the day that they have this big catered meal for Steven and they limo him to the set and everything. I mean, after all, it is our books, right?
Yeah.
Right.
No, nothing. And they're like, oh, don't worry. We're going to do a publicity for you guys about Savage Wars, which is this new series we're launching for Galaxy's Edge and everything like that. And so they do like a big Q&A video, and it's just Stephen Lang talking about voice acting. It says nothing about the books or us or our series. Like, they're the biggest bunch of assholes you ever met. And they're like, you can't get anybody on the phone. And like, they love, here's the great, best way to take advantage of Audible Studios is they love to sign deals, and then they don't care what happens. They'll even give you the money, and you can have the money, and you don't even have to write the books. And then all you have to do is wait until like 18 months until that person leaves. And then a new person will come along to handle you, and they'll just be so excited to sign another project with you. And you're like, yeah, but I owe you like 6 books. And they're like, no, we just want to do new work. And you're like, great. And their accounting system is like probably the new Delhi telephone system. It's just absolutely insane. They're the biggest bunch of idiots in the entire world. They're like the rich kid with all the toys, and they just can't solve for success at any possible point.
Yeah.
Jason's like, they may actually hear you, and I'm like, I feel completely safe having them hear these things because nothing will happen because they're incompetent.
I was going to say that sounds really good when you're signing deals, but when like you actually need like technical support on something, it sounds awful.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Or you.
I mean, I don't know if you paid attention. Like about what, like every 18 months, they'll just delete all our books or take them down.
Well, it feels like that, yeah.
Yeah, and they'll claim it's like a computer error. And Jason will be right on the thing, like, hey, all our books aren't available. What's going on? Nothing. Crickets with white glove service. But then the moment you go on to Twitter and say, hey, everybody, we have no idea why our books are being taken down at Amazon. Can everybody talk about it so that customer service will actually help? And am I lying, Jason? That's actually how it gets solved.
Yeah, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
Basically it.
Yeah.
You ain't lying.
If Amazon was a fat kid, you could push him over and take all his money.
This is for Rings of Power.
But wait, Gollum the Hunted.
I too wanted them to do a paragraph from the Council of Elrond and turn it into a 3-movie series.
Well, I think also, isn't like War of the Rohirrim supposed to be the next one?
I'm sure. A lot of people hear like Lord of the Rings anime and they just lose their shit. I'm done with it.
I really love the Lord of the Rings movies, and I enjoy them, and they're great. There's really nothing else. I went to watch The Hobbit just to see, and it was weird, but it was fun. It was I
thought the first one was
a video game.
I thought the first one was fun as a fantasy movie, but it wasn't Tolkien.
Right.
I think I made it about 30 minutes into the second one, and
into the Two Towers.
No, the second Hobbit movie.
Oh, The Hobbit. Yeah, it was a disaster.
Yeah. So the first one, the thing that bugged me was the new like super high frame rate thing just didn't work for me. I was like, it is actually kind of hard to watch. And 2, as soon as the rabbit sleds showed up, I was like, okay, I'm done. This is not what Tolkien would have done. And then the second, I think it was part of the second movie when they're doing like, it's like a theme park, rapids ride in the barrels and that stuff. I was like, what is going on here? And then they get to Lake Town. I was like, when did this turn into a Charles Dickens novel? Like, it progressively got worse and worse.
It's like every day they went to work and tried to decide on a new genre. But I like that the girl from Lost was in it. That was fun. And what I liked knowing is that they'll never let her do anything but be the girl from Lost. that whatever she does, she will have to choose between two lovers. And I like that is her fate. That's a good fate. People don't realize, like, you find a monkey trick, you camp out on it and work it, but that was enjoyable to me. The dwarves were great. I really liked the dwarves, and I liked the guy who played Thorin, and I liked all the dwarves, and that was really cool. But it was a disaster, and I never saw it. It never existed, and there are only 3 Star Wars movies and 3 Lord of the Rings movies and 3 Indiana Jones movies and 1 Fright Night.
The funny part is I'm pretty sure the dude who played Thorin is actually like 6'5" in real life.
Yeah, like if you watch BBC period pieces, he's like, Lord of the Manor, Mr. Yeah.
That's right. I'm pretty sure John Rhys Davies is also like 6 feet in real life.
I was listening to some Hollywood reporter talk about the worst possible people they'd ever interviewed. And the one she said hands down was the guy who played Legolas. Mm-hmm. And she said because they did a press junket with him, and he talked about how the whole cast got the tattoo. And they're like, "Oh, can we see it?" And he's like, "Oh no, it's far too sacred for you guys to see."
Wait, wasn't this his first movie? Like, wasn't he an unknown actor before Lord of the Rings?
Pretty much. And everybody was like, "Oh, that's extremely boorish." And then he goes to cons the next day and is just flashing it and showing it around. And then it turns out that not everybody got the tattoo. That's bullshit.
Yeah, John Rhys Davies didn't.
Yeah, he's like, "No, I'm not getting a tattoo, you bunch of idiots. The homosexual is only getting a tattoo with you because he wants to hang out with young boys." Gandalf.
The best part that came out of Orlando. Well, here's the other thing: is I can understand him being a dick to journalists because that's also one of my hobbies. But like immediately after Lord of the Rings, he did the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff,
right?
But Orlando Bloom always looked like Orlando Bloom, very slender dude and all that stuff. And then they put him in Kingdom of Heaven, and they're like, "We're going to need you to add 20 pounds of muscle," and he looks like a slender elfish dude on steroids. Like
he's Errol Flynn, and like if he had a good management team, they would dive in on that.
Right.
If they had a good management team, they would have remade Captain Blood starring him. Mm-hmm. But actors make weird choices and are weird people, and I know that because I was one and hung around with that scene. And I don't know why people just don't, one of the smartest acting coaches I ever had was a lady who's played every lesbian prison guard, judge, and lesbian admiral on Star Trek. And she just looked at me and she goes, "Anatomy is destiny. You will always be a bad guy." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'm down with it."
Yeah.
But that's kind of, but when you get into acting, you want to do all these things that aren't you. But if you just kind of and it's the same thing. I mean, I think there's a bit of writing advice in there. It's very easy to have a hit and think you can do anything. But it's very important that you not do that and continue to do what, like I said, if you find a monkey trick, you got to stay there and camp out. I say all the time. But
that's what I've been told about the publishing industry is like, you've got your whole life to write a masterpiece. You've got 6 months to write the sequel. So
yeah, exactly. If you get a series like Galaxy's Edge or, and you're doing well, write it until everybody's sick to death of you. Wait a few years and then go off and write your werewolf cozy that you've been dying to write, But don't do it at the height of when you're making money. Hang out over the DZ and make some money.
That works.
Yeah.
I think the problem is so many people write what they want to write, and then after they get a name for themselves, they want to be taken seriously. And so they feel like they've got to change everything about it instead of what made them successful.
Well, I think that they actually think that the people who wrote a 5-star review and said, "Oh, this book was really great, it changed my life," I think they actually believe that shit. Or the person calls up and says, "Oh, my mom was having a tough time in the hospital, and you saved my life. And I think that I think writers sit around thinking that they have a bigger impact on people's lives, and then it leads to the pontification phase, and we see this in like, the usual, the Chuck Wendig crowd,
Yeah.
no one has asked for my thoughts on Hamas and Israel, but here they are, and it's like, no, I always just try to think of myself as a hooker or a prostitute. And
We do too. Yeah.
you weary stranger would like a roll and some fun, and then on your way, buddy. And that's kind of, like, I'm just here to distract and entertain. I'm not curing cancer. And I'm also not diminishing the act of entertaining or distracting, pain killing to an extent. Marx said, religion is the opiate of the masses, and everybody said, oh, Marx, he was saying religion was fake. Well, no, Marx actually had bad teeth. And if you ever had a bad tooth and someone gave you a painkiller for it, it feels pretty great. Or if you've ever been in, and I think I'm talking to two people who have probably been in a serious amount of pain at some point in their life, and someone gave them something for it, and it was akin to a pretty great experience, other than the suffering that you were in. And it is true that these times are tough. And if you people come home and there's nothing but garbage on TV, the movies suck, the bank account's shot, mayonnaise is $8 a jar. And if you can tell someone a space story or, an elf story or whatever, and they have a good time and they don't feel so blue or black and they want to get up and drive the truck tomorrow. A lot of people who listen to all of our books in Wargate are truck drivers. And truck drivers, that's the most boring, lonely, hard job to do, but it actually keeps our nation alive, like we're learning with the supply chain. And so I may diminish and say I'm kind of a hooker, but at the same time, I think it's pretty noble to distract people from what's hard, give them a break, be a painkiller or keep them on the road. So, don't diminish that, Nick. That's a pretty cool thing.
Well, I think it goes back into what we were talking about at the start of the stream, is the connection between the Galaxy's Edge universe and Star Wars. Both of them came about and did something that changed the game in a certain way.
Yeah.
Star Wars, science fiction was in the ghetto as a genre, but the books that were being written during that time were very pontificating, wannabe profound, philosophical, just exercises instead of being fun.
Yeah.
Star Wars put the fun back in science fiction.
Yeah.
And
It's funny,
we were kind of seeing the same stuff when Galaxy's Edge came around.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. You see a lot of there's a Dune Star Wars battle going on right now where people say Herbert, and Jason will get a little upset here because he went to the same high school as Frank Herbert. But, people will say that Herbert ripped off Star Wars, and people will point out, well, Dune was written in 1965 and things like that. And it's yeah, but Dune is super boring and really super overheated and preachy. And the Millennium Falcon dives around and goes zoom, and there's lightsabers. And that's, fun is pretty cool. And it's easy to bash fun, just like it's easy to say that the hot chick who fills out the sweater is stupid, but why is she so popular? There's something to be said for just having fun. That's pretty cool. It takes a lot of effort to have fun. I was watching Hudson Hawk this weekend, and it's kind of funny because this might be lost on you guys because you're young, but when Bruce Willis first starts out, he starts out as a comedy actor. He's not an action actor. And he was on this TV show called Moonlighting, and it put him on the map. And he has really great comedy timing. But as Die Hard kind of took over his life, you see his movies get much more serious, and he's the tough guy. And honestly, if you go back and watch his comedy, it's way better than his action movies. But the action movies are fun.
Well, that and all of his most famous and most well-remembered action movies is he's the funny action guy.
Right.
Fifth Element, Die Hard, stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, but in the end, he got that's early stuff. But in the end, he got he got too serious.
Yeah.
And I think people wanted to put him in those roles, but there's something to be said for having fun. It's harder to have fun. It's harder to be funny. It's easy to write.
Anybody could do it.
Yeah, it's easy to write combat and big spaceship scenes and all this kind of stuff, but to put in kind of witty, a lot of the times what people remember from Galaxy's Edge are, and I don't write them a lot, Jason writes them more, are kind of like the witty stuff, the funny stuff, the master's jokes, just simple things that resonated in a humorous way. And, usually in the military, that's one of the things that people who are in the military understand that most people writing military stuff in Hollywood don't understand, is that sort of a grim, dark sense of humor is like kind of half the thing,
You know what pisses me off about that though? Not that, but
right.
The current situation that we're in is in combat or just in shitty situations on deployment and that stuff. We would be the funniest motherfuckers you've ever met,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
It's a serious situation, but we're still funny.
Yeah.
Now, if you try to put that in a work, whether it's a book or a movie or a TV show or something like that, people are like, oh, the Marvel humor is back. People only have like one note. They can't fucking take anything seriously. It was like, no, it was funny when we did it. But now everybody's all jaded because fucking Joss Whedon just went overboard.
Joss Whedon ruined a lot of shit.
Yeah. That's true. I think we can all agree on our mutual hatred of Joss Whedon.
Yes.
No, I think anything, like, it just has to be balanced. And also, you are always going to have people, because the internet, like going back to Mike Tyson, the internet has made you guys comfortable saying things you should be punched in the face for. And it's like one of the things I hate about being a creator is just the dumb shit that people can weigh in on a review and say. And like 9 times out of 10, it doesn't make any sense, or it's like, if you'd read a little further or you'd done this, you would understand. And I gave up a long time ago, like reading reviews or really caring what anybody says, because like time and time again, things that I'd written in either Galaxy's Edge or Forgotten Ruin got ripped to shreds. And I was told, like, this has ended the whole series. I'm out, I'm off. And then I'm like, okay, let's give it 6 months. And then I've seen comments like, oh, you have to read this. This is the whole thing. You can't get it unless you understand. I'm like, oh, I remember when you guys hated Imperator. Hated it. And now I see people saying, oh, that you have to understand the Savages, you have to read this. And it's like, no. Assholes.
it ages like whiskey. If you take it out of the barrel, the first 6 months,
it's just like the internet has made people, like, we joke about every time there's a new thing. Oh, now there's Boeing experts. Now there's bridge experts. Like, I hate the fact that everybody feels the burden that they have to have some expertise on the latest subject.
Yeah. And most of them have not.
That's why I post Muppet memes where Kermit says, hey, Silver just went to $31 to his boss. Shut your mouth. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Jason, you need to shut up, buddy. Let me talk.
He's busy writing the next book from the sound of it.
Yeah. Someone's got to.
Well, we're a little past 2 hours, folks.
Hey, thank you for having me on. I ate 2 carbonara bowls.
Awesome. Jason.
What if Jason died during the podcast and I've just been making fun of this?
It's been known to happen.
He is suspiciously silent.
He's probably like, oh, Nick's talking. I've got enough time to go make coffee or something like that.
Yeah, that's classic Jason.
No, you know what? I can hear you guys.
He's alive.
I can hear you, and I was actually even talking for a while, and I was like, man, none of my jokes are landing. Apparently, like when you're using your phone, it'll just revoke microphone access after a while. So I was like, what? What's going on?
That's the AI demon.
I was being engaged and hilarious. I was probably the best guest you've ever had, but it was just limited to my office. So it's the way it goes.
What we should do is we should do that, and we should have a Jason cut where we mute his microphone but record it, and then we put Jason's comments behind the paywall.
Ooh, I think you're onto something there.
That would mean I'd have to set up a paywall. That's going to have to be on you guys.
Talking again. This will go on for 20 minutes. Oh my gosh! Now he's going to talk about politics. Anybody want to play Trump bingo, where he starts going off about how great Trump is?
So you have to be like me and just talk up Ron Paul, because no one takes umbrage with Ron Paul
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's
I was
safe.
going to say,
That's
like,
me.
there's an entire
Mr.
generation
Safety.
that doesn't even know who he is. So,
They'll learn.
I learned that in Hollywood one time. I was on a set, and the cameraman's kid was there, and I was doing impressions, and I did John Wayne. I go, whoa, you know. The kid goes, "Who's that?" And I go, "John Wayne." And he goes, "Who's that?" And I go, "Wow."
I was actually at a table with a bunch of dudes in their 30s who did not know who Lee Marvin was.
That's bullshit.
What?
Every Marine should know who Lee Marvin is. He got his ass shot up on Iwo Jima.
Everybody, period. Okay, how have you not seen Delta Force?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was flabbergasted. Cue Ball was flabbergasted. It was just, it was bad.
Oh, do you remember when Wade showed the decob Predator for the first time?
I don't think I was around for that one,
Okay.
but yeah.
He's
Well, before we get into too many contract stories, Jason, obviously you guys have the Wadded out this month, about a week and a half ago.
Right.
What else you want to push?
All right. So there's the Wanted. So if you didn't know Galaxy's Edge Season 3 started, you can go download that audiobook, read the ebook, buy a signed hardcover from the website. That's one thing. Two, just this weekend, you can buy the official Legion shorts, the closest thing to synthprene that you can get. We're partnering with Over Out, who's a really great guy, good company, good shorts. You can swim in them, you can work out in them, you just look cool in them and not do those things. Either way, you can get those. And then this coming week, we're sponsoring our first precision shooting match in Montana. We're going to try to get Peter there so he can win some prize money. And I think we all have bets on you, Peter. So you kind of really do need to show up. It's a little.
I just learned about this like 2 hours ago. So.
Yeah, I know. It's you got to seize the moment when these things happen.
We'll take the prize money and put it right into my Lamborghini. I mean, your marketing fund for your books.
Right. Yeah. Well, it is marketing because there's a little sticker that says Galaxy's Edge on Nick's Lamborghini.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if anyone looks close enough.
Wait, a little sticker?
Yeah,
I thought it would be the size of the whole hood.
Well, it can't be any bigger, or else it won't fit next to the KTF, stuff that he's got on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nick's Lamborghini actually is airbrush painted like a wizard man. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
I have people in my life.
He's got the sorcerer on the side.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah,
it's him.
I've got
him.
Death Dealer on one panel and Gandalf on the other.
There you go.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. So those are the three things that we're pitching and pushing now, and I think that's it. We're just grinding. We've got several more Galaxy's Edge books coming, but like Nick said, this is it. This is our decision tree for this main season. How far does season 3 go? It's really going to continue to depend on how well people seem to want it, because we've certainly got enough material for season 3 to do 9 books if we wanted to, or more. But if it's like, hey, all we want is 3 books and then shut up, we will shut up.
Yeah, and if you have $100,000 and you do want to see what it would be like to have a giant second Death Star explode on a planet full of Wookiees, for $100,000, we can make that happen for you.
Right.
Oh.
All right. Well,
Nick,
thanks.
anything
Peter.
in addition to Jason's? And Nick is gone.
No,
That's
I'm here. I'm here. I was ready to leave. There was more carbonara in the bowl.
You guys got to get a Galaxy's Edge brand pasta sauce.
Oh, that would be bitching. If you guys are ever in Southern California,
Legion's owned. Okay,
Yeah,
Legion's owned.
Right.
If you guys are ever in Southern California, please give me a call so we can go out and have coffee, and you can.
Yeah. Yeah, or Western Washington. I mean, within region. I'm not going to go all the way out to Forks.
All right. Well, as I said earlier, I'm working on book 3 of this upcoming series. Also got another Jed Horn in the works. And
Is it about AI demons?
No.
Oh, come on.
AI
Hey, Peter.
Giving it to you, man.
Peter, when are you and me going to co-write a book where you handle all the good hard pipe hitters, and I have the wizard out of time who has to make things work. When are we going to do that co-write, buddy?
Well, as this is the first time I've been hearing about it, I don't know yet.
Just like the shooting match, right? Like
Call sign Merlin, just.
I think we should call it Hobo Wizard and the Shadow Force.
Yeah, I think that'd be good, right?
And he says stuff like, I cast 6,000 shells per minute. And then everybody's gun goes like high cyclic.
I cast die, motherfucker, die.
That'd be cool. Like those pictures, that'd be bitching. You guys would do great.
We'll talk in July, Jason.
So that Mill Sci-Fi series you're working on. So the Lost was all a bunch of like heavy metal album covers, come to life as books. Is the new ones like synthwave and all that shit? It's like, are your covers going to follow that theme?
It's a pretty good idea.
Well, two of them are two are done. One is in process, and the third one still needs to be. The last one still needs to be started. But
synthwave sounds cool. Vaporwave
it does sound cool.
Is like my happy place. Like late at night, I just like look at vaporwave pictures. I'm really happy.
These are kind of more late 70s, early 80s hammer slammers type.
Yeah, like Peter went for a really cool aesthetic where it all looks just like classic science fiction covers, classic military sci-fi covers. I think it's pretty neat.
I have seen the first cover that's coming out, and I always dig O'Neill cylinders. So,
all right, folks.
Contribution.
All right, guys. I'm out. I will talk to you later.
All right. Thanks for having us on, guys.
Thank you.
Bros.